recording.
conference will now be recorded.
My apologies, y'all. I hope you'll have some grace for me because I am new to this. So again, GoToMeeting, it's very point and click, very easy to use. Again, the 14-day free trial, and when you do have, when you do want to move to a paid subscription, it is extremely affordable. You can share anything actually that's on your screen. The recording function after your meeting ends, it takes a little bit to process. We'll send you an email where your recording has been stored on the cloud, and then you can embed or link that. And after this call is ended, when we receive that recording, we'll be posting it to our website. We do have a website on our home page, our web page from our home site, www.etowahchamber.org/COVID19, no dash in between the COVID-19, where we're stockpiling our resources to give to you guys. All of our recorded webinars are being linked there. There's another recorded webinar from last week that we provided when we had just some preliminary knowledge of what was going on. We're gearing up some additional webinars. They'll all be posted there. But that is a great function of GoToMeeting, that it provides that recording function, and you can store it and use it later. It also maintains a history of your web meetings. You're able to see, you know, what meetings you had when, and whether you recorded them or not, and how long they lasted, things like that. The chat function, and I'm going to tell you guys, I want to know way more about this software than any other because we have used it pretty extensively since this all began. The chat, which you guys all have an ability to go send a message through the chat function. You can download that chat after the meeting. It will actually automatically download to your download notes file on your desktop or your laptop. And we actually, because our bylaws allow for us to have electronic votes, we were able to use that function to record voting on some items when we had our board meeting last Thursday via GoToMeetings. All right, the next one is probably one that we're all a little more familiar with, and that's Skype. Skype's been around a really long time. It's a voice over IP app. You've probably used it at some point in your life. It's free. You can have up to 50 people on for free. Each participant has to have Skype. They need to sign in and have their own Skype account. And sometimes that can be a drawback, especially if you're trying to provide a meeting to a wide variety of recipients that may not want to actually download software. Whereas GoToMeeting, you can install a component, or you can just view on the browser. So Skype is inherent on a lot of laptops these days, a lot of even desktops. You again can use that with a desktop or a mobile phone. Zoom is another really popular program that's available right now. And I think Ginger at APG said they're using Zoom quite a bit. Some of the meetings we've had nationwide are using Zoom. You can have a free account for up to 100 participants. You can upgrade to a paid account that has higher functionality. There are no limits on the number of meetings you can host, and you could allow people to join through the web. You don't have to actually download software for this one. And iPhones, Androids, everything seem to work seamlessly with Zoom. Free users can also record video. All right, sorry guys, I just muted everybody. And I apologize, I think I'm getting notifications on my side that you guys aren't seeing, so I'm getting a little distracted. I'm gonna try to focus here. And you can share your screens with other conference participants. and working with Zoom. Another product is called Free Conference. It supports up to 5 video participants for an unlimited number of calls. It's not entirely free. It does have a free trial, much like everything else that you've seen, but it does charge a free premium. The options that are available through the free option are decent. They're not the best. Again, hopefully this thing will not last an extremely long time. If you're looking at a 15-day solution, I take you back to GoToMeetings or Zoom that offers a high level of functionality in the free software. Free Conference also works with your iPhone, your Android. There's no ability to record a call unless you're willing to upgrade with Free Conference, though. There are some other lesser knowns out there. Jitsi.org. It's theoretically for an unlimited number of participants. It supports phone-in audio and both the hosted and the self-hosted versions. The service supports screen sharing and has mobile apps for iPhone and Android, but again, it does require an app download. You can record. You can stream to YouTube and then pass the link around after the video has been recorded. There are no premium tiers to Jitsi, and the project is free. It uses technology in its own products. There's also a product called JoinMe. It supports up to 10 video participants. It's free for up to those 10. It does allow you to screen share. You can do up to 5 video feeds. It's probably not as user-friendly or as robust, has as many options as Zoom and GoToMeetings, but it is a decent free option. It does have some paid solution as well. Let's talk about some tips for remote work. It's incredibly painful to change. We all know that. And especially when you're trying to get a lot accomplished as a team and you need to, you're used to being able to just shout from office to office or pull together a meeting anytime you'd like. So it's important to remember when you're remote working, you can never over communicate with your staff. In fact, one strategy that we put in place before we ever moved to remote work, last week we discussed that for the chamber staff, we will have a staff meetup every day, every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and at 4 p.m. We looked at what other activities are going on that we're going to need to be involved in. We're engaged in a lot of state and federal conference calls, which a lot of happen at 10 and 2 or 10 and 1. We also want to be delivering as much content as possible to you guys so that we can help you during this difficult time. So 9 and 4 seem like the least likely hours we would either be delivering a webinar or receiving a webinar from some other source, and just establish those are the dates that we're going to check in. It may be 30 minutes, it may be an hour, but that we could come back together, discuss what the day has ahead of us or what the day, what we accomplished in that day, any bits of information. This will reduce a lot of text overload, a lot of email overload where you're spending a lot of time trying to catch up with conversations. So have that regular scheduled staff check-in. It's also just great to see each other's faces. But again, knowing that we may be 7, 10, 15 days of not being able to be face-to-face with each other, there's a lot to be said for being able to read body language and know how each other is really doing. So set those schedules, check in regularly, and make sure that all staff knows what your communication strategy is. It's also for those of us that are managers that we have clear expectations. I don't know that it's ever been more critical for the chamber and the chamber staff to be vigilant, alert, and working extremely hard for our members, because we need to be collecting all the data that we can regurgitate to you in segments that are going to be easy to process and be useful to you. And so if you have expectations with your the folks that you're managing, and they understand why you have those expectations, they understand why the work is important, you know, everybody will still feel very much like a team, and they'll know this is what my day holds. This is, you know, I might not have to put on my makeup and fix my hair today, but I do have work to do, and I'm dedicated to that work. Again, that kind of falls in line with treating the remote as local, treating it just like it's your work day. I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning. I got my shower. I got somewhat ready. I did not bother with makeup, I'm going to admit, but I'm going to treat the day just like I were going into my office. I'm going to have the same routines, eat breakfast, eat lunch around the same times. These are going to be the things that make your remote work as successful as possible, as well as the remote work of those that you may manage. And you got to trust your team. We're sending folks home to work where we don't have the ability to monitor, but let's be honest, if you had concerns about having to stand over your employees before, now you had them before as well. So it's important that your team knows that you trust them, you trust they're going to do the work that needs to be done, and that you're there for them and available to them when they need you. And so it's important when you send them home to work, or when we go home to work, that you have reliable tools, and that's software and hardware. I expect that we're going to see some difficulties with connectivity as more and more people do go to remote work. In some of our communities, we're going to see a strain on the bandwidth. It's important to have backup plans for communication should that happen. But just as you plan for this, you know, make sure that your staff either has at home adequate hardware, a computer or a laptop, or that you're providing one for them so that you can maintain that communication. Emily Carter just popped into the chat and mentioned webcams are sold out in a lot of places. So hardware is difficult to come by. I'm going to admit I had planned to order a much more solid laptop about a week and a half ago, and had consulted with one of our members who told me I needed to go ahead and get that on order, and I'm kicking myself because I didn't, because we're going to have a hard time getting a lot of supplies and equipment right now. But if you do have additional laptops at work, Chromebooks, things like that, sending your employees home, signing them out to that employee, making sure they're responsible for it, but that they know they've got equipment that's reliable to use, as well as software. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I will mention that we have talked to a couple of different IT companies in our area, such as Network Solutions, Lookout IT, Micro Excel, Southern Data. We've got a great group of different IT solutions in our community. And if you are not yet remote working and you're looking to move to that, I believe they're all offering services to help get you connected and set up, and help you make sure that you've got the right tools pre-installed on the equipment that you're taking home, so that you can get as much work done as efficiently as possible. So be sure you give those guys a call. If you need some help, you can find them through our member directory. You can shoot me an email later, and I can get you connected too. So let's talk about some things that are going to make it easier, in addition to teleconferencing, for you to be able to work from home. A lot of folks have already moved to cloud storage and cloud software. Several years ago, we moved to Google Business. We were on Google Business for about 2 years, and since that time, we have transitioned over to Microsoft Office 365. It's really a matter of preferences and the types of work you do. We do a lot of mail merges. We have a lot. We do a lot of design work, PowerPoints, things like that. And just really our comfort level with Microsoft Office was greatly the big reason for the move, but also the functionality in Microsoft Office is a good bit better. Google, however, you get a lot of bang for your buck. Especially for a very small office, it's a $6 a month basic. There are some businesses that I know of that have that just use free Google services, and you still have a lot of functionality within that. You have documents, you have a spreadsheet function, you have a lot of things that you can still work with in there. But making sure that you have a file server where your data is stored on that cloud, and not necessarily just on or even on a local server. You may be backing up your data to a local server now, where oddly enough we used to be in the reverse. We used to store everything on a local server and back up to a cloud or back up to a remote offsite. You may still be backing up your cloud to a remote offsite through one of those services I mentioned. Again, one of our local IT services, they're able to provide stuff like that. So those two solutions, Microsoft Office 365 and Google for Business, are great for allowing for a high level of collaboration, especially since they're cloud. You can quite often work in the same document at the same time if needed. Two to three different people can do that. There are other storage options available just for storage. If you've got if you primarily work off laptops and/or you still have access to your desktop and your software is installed locally, you can look at Amazon Cloud Storage, OpenDrive, Dropbox is pretty widely used for storing those documents. This improves your ability to access things without actually having to physically go into the office. I will give you a pointer that I learned really not too long ago, and saw a message today that reminded me of it. But for those of us that may need to scan PDFs and send PDFs to each other, if you've got an iPhone and the notes function, you can actually click the plus button inside the notes button and take a photo of the item, and it will convert it to a PDF. And so from our phones, they really have expanded a lot of what we can do. In addition to, there are several apps that you can download for your phone to be able to scan documents, convert them to PDFs, and email them or message them to other people or to yourself for cloud storage. We have another caller in that came in late and wanted to know if we talked about Microsoft Teams. We haven't talked specifically about Microsoft Teams, just about the Microsoft 365 service. I'll repeat that again, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and watch it after we've completed it. We'll be posting it to our website. Again, that's ottawachamber.org/COVID-19, COVID-19, and we'll be sure to send that link out to everybody too. Some other software that you may look at that could be helpful to you if you haven't already. QuickBooks has an online version. Again, it does have pros and cons. The pros are that it's accessible from anywhere. You can have quick access to your books, but some of the negatives are that it isn't as robust as a local install. There are some functionalities, especially if you have to batch information between two systems. The QuickBooks Online version is not as friendly as the local install for importing and exporting batch data. Sage 50, which is a product of Peachtree, also has a cloud version. And then a great free app that especially for small businesses, if you don't need an extremely robust service, is Wave. If you type in Wave accounting app, it'll come up, and it is a really user-friendly point and click. You can store customers. It has a great deal of reporting. You can create classifications, a chart of accounts, several of the things that are included in a more intelligent software. Wave has, and they offer the free version. It does have an upgrade opportunity where you do have a paid version where you can actually connect straight to your bank and do reconciliations, as well as offer credit card payments to be accepted through the Wave service. So that's a great little tool for small businesses that may not already have an accounting program. So for those of us that are working from home, here are some tips that can help you be as productive as possible. Create yourself a workspace. I wish I could, I should have thrown up a picture of Will Mackey's workspace at home he sent to us. That was the first thing he did Friday when he got home, was set up a neat little area where he has an additional, he's got a second monitor, which I'm sorely missing right now, and a quiet space in a corner of the house where he can get focused, and it looks very much like a work desk. So if at all possible, create a workspace. I'm gonna admit I'm sitting at my kitchen table. Didn't take my own advice on that. Get out of your pajamas. Just because I knew I'd be doing some face chatting today, I made sure I did that. But that does help you get going. If you need that motivation to get you moving in the morning, like I said, stick to your routines. Get up, get your shower, get moving along, and get out of your pajamas. Put on some work clothes. Create a schedule, which we talked about earlier, but not just for your staff. Create one for yourself. Making sure that things that you normally did when you were at work, if you had your times from 8 to 9, you were checking email. From 9 to 10, you had certain tasks that you were doing while you were at work. It's going to be more effective for you to maintain those schedules when you're at home too. If you didn't have those, maybe now is a good time for you to do some research for yourself and find out when you're more productive doing what tasks, and implement those schedules now, which leads to avoiding multitasking, especially while we don't have all of our tools and resources at the tips of our fingers, all of our files. Multitasking can help us get more overwhelmed than usual. Avoid long chain group emails. We talked about that just a little earlier with the importance of teleconferencing. Those texts and those emails, if you get slightly behind because you're on another webinar or whatnot, it can get really confusing to catch up. And actually, over the weekend, I was on a long chain text that got extremely confusing because 2 of the 7 people that were on that group text, their responses were not coming through. And so I was not seeing all of the information, and so it got really confusing. And then those 2 individuals, their text finally came through about 4 o'clock in the morning the next morning, which concerned me initially. I thought something major had happened overnight, and it hadn't. And then it just makes it very hard to follow. So request a chat. Use one of those chat functions that we talked about previously, the teleconferencing services. And just make sure you get those issues that need a conversation in as close to in person as possible with either a conference call or a teleconference. And be sure you're practicing some self-care. If you take an hour for lunch regularly, spend 15 minutes eating your lunch at home and take a 30-minute walk. Get outside, get some peace about yourself. It is a stressful time for everyone, and especially when you're managing a team, it can become even more stressful because you are so used to having close proximity and having each other to bounce ideas off of and to collaborate with. So it's important to do some things to practice self-care. I've seen an insane amount of generosity going on the internet. I saw Absolute Fitness's yoga instructor, Jane, is offering some free yoga and Pilates classes segments online on Facebook. Look for some of those things that you may have never had time to do before, and give yourself that grace, give yourself that gift, so that you can get recentered and get refocused, so that we can face these days ahead of us, and to be better for not just ourselves, but our partners at work and our partners at home. And so I will end this segment with just reminding you guys, we are all in this together. It is a time that it's probably never been more important to show each other some mercy, and that includes our own teams. Sometimes we get so close to each other, we feel like we can take out our frustration on each other. It's really important to maintain those conversations and to stay connected daily when possible, at least daily throughout the work week if you're expecting your staff to work throughout the week, so that you all know where each other are, what each other is doing, not only regarding to work, but where your folks are mentally as well. I want to remind you that we are in this with you. We understand, and we have an extreme amount of compassion for what's going on in our community, and we want to help in any way possible. So if you have anything that your organization or business is doing, if you have modified services in any form or fashion, if you have resources to other businesses that you have to offer specific to this pandemic, we are doing everything we can to collect those. You can send those to info@etowahchamber.org. We have, again, that web page that we have dedicated to this response, trying to pull together as much information as possible, as fast as possible. But I will tell you, the information changes so fast that is often hard to do. But we want to do everything we can to be a resource to you. So if you have other ideas of tools and things that you would like for us to research and be able to provide some training on, or some webinars with more information on, we're also open to that. I do want to mention, I got an email just while we were on this that I wanted to share with you, that 12 p.m. Eastern, which will be 11 p.m. Central, the Senate is scheduled for another vote on the next package of business assistance. If you are interested specifically in knowing what those packages that are being considered look like, you can shoot me an email, heather.new@etowahchamber.org, and I will be happy to forward along the information I have specific to that, so that you can determine what you feel should be supported, and you can reach out to your senators to express such. So the chat function's open. If anybody has any questions before we convene, I'll be happy to take those. All right, well, if there are no questions, we will be in contact soon with our next webinar. We are working on several, one on unemployment benefits, one on tax deferrals, and one on the small business economic injury disaster loan program. So you'll be seeing a lot of information coming out from us for webinars. I do want to stress that our webinars are available for everyone. You do not have to be a member to join in on these webinars during this time. We understand it is critical that we do everything that we can to support all of our businesses. We want to keep everybody connected with the information that's out there as it's coming in. So if you want to share this with anyone, please feel free to do so anytime you get an invitation to any of our webinars. So thanks, guys. Hang in there. Take care, and just know your chamber loves you. Bye, guys.